So I'm not sure how much you know about the state of engineering in the UK, so again, apologies if this is information that you've already got, but hopefully not, and hopefully you'll find it useful information. So just to give you an overview, the engineering grew last year by, when I say last year, I mean between 2013 and 2014, by 6.7%, to a turnover of £1.17 trillion, so fairly large, and it actually makes up just under 25% of the UK economy. So when we're talking about STEM skills and the importance of STEM skills, I think we can all agree that they're pretty important in terms of the UK economy already, and that's before I've even gone into any further facts and figures. 5.4 million people employed, and across just under 600,000 enterprises, and that's engineering enterprises. But in the southeast, and I looked at some of the figures, and we have a whole report on this. So the State of Engineering is an EngineeringUK report that's published every year around December and launched in January. And I looked back through and had a look, can we pull out some of the stats for the southeast to make it a bit more relevant to you guys. And actually it's quite amazing. The southeast is pretty big, as I'm sure you know, and I live in the southeast, so it's also good to know that my children will be employed, and there are lots of opportunities for them to be employed. There are 99,000, currently 99,000 people are employing 960,000 people, which makes up 24.8% of all enterprises. So there's a pretty big pool of engineering organisations already, and projected requirement over between 2012 and 2022 with 402,000 employees, and that's a combination of a replacement and new jobs. And of those, nearly almost 300,000 will require engineering skills or STEM skills of some description. And that equates to every year roughly around just under 30,000 per year, just in the southeast. So it doesn't take too much working out to figure that we need to almost double the number of engineering apprentices and graduates to meet that demand. And so my colleagues tell me, when I had a word with them yesterday when I was trying to get some of these stats, I already know that it's looking like in the next report you'll see that the gap in those skills is actually increasing this year, and we'll report on that in January. So we do have some challenges. We have to look at the screen, it's too dark here, I can't see my numbers. So of the cohort of 11-year-olds, only 1 in 5 will achieve grades A to C in GCSE physics. And again, 1 in 25 will obtain an A star to C grade in A-level. And when I'm just pull out some of I've got some stats on girls as well, because it gets even more worrying when you talk about girls. In physics, almost equal to boys at GCSE, but when they move on to physics A-level, it drops down dramatically, so only 1/5 of girls achieve A-level physics. So that you can already see that when you look at the skills gap, we're already by not focusing on girls, or we're missing the opportunity to combat that skills gap, because it's only there are only 1 in 5 girls that will take a physics A-level. And according to the Schools Physics Network, they know that improving the confidence and knowledge base of teachers leads to an increase in the progression of A-level physics. So we need to do something with teachers and obviously with young people. So the perceptions, I don't know again how much you know about EngineeringUK, but we run the Engineering and Engineers Brand Monitor. So every year we do a survey, we go out to the general population and we ask what their perceptions are around engineering. Over 4 in 10, 11 to 14-year-olds see a career in engineering as desirable. And that is an improvement, and we know that the work that everybody's doing, and employers, stakeholders and the professional engineering institutions are doing a significant amount of work, and it is being recognised and it is showing that there is an increase. 1 in 4 11 to 14-year-olds said that they knew what people working in engineering do, and 3 in 10 parents know what people in engineering do. But it's not enough, and there is more work to do, particularly if we want to double the number of people going into apprenticeships and taking up graduate placements. And whilst almost 6 out of 10 STEM teachers felt that a career in engineering was desirable, only 1 in 6 of those STEM teachers thought that a career in engineering is undesirable. And I know for a fact that I'm a school governor, and when I mentioned engineering to one of the other governors, they said to me, "What on earth would you want to do that for? I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy." So clearly we do have a problem, and I think you can probably guess I did put her right at that point. Thanks, it's my job. And again, when you look at the 18 to 24-year-olds, only 52% of them could cite an engineering development in the last 50 years. And that's really surprising, because everybody now walks around with a phone in their hands and is constantly texting and is constantly on the internet, WhatsApp and Snapchat, but they still didn't. And for me, that tells me that they're not making the connection between what they're doing on a daily basis and the things that they're interacting with every day, and making the connection between that and engineering. And I think that, again, gives us an opportunity, actually, to look at how do we do this better, and are we missing a trick there? Are we not showing them what's already in their world and what they're already interested in, and show them how those things are engineered? So the engineering sector needs collaborative action. As I said, we need to either double the number of engineering graduates, or at least increase the number of engineering and technology-related STEM and non-STEM graduates who are known to enter engineering occupations. So it's across the board, and now with some of the business and industry that we work with, and on our business and industry panel, they aren't just talking about that we have a challenge in terms of STEM, they're talking about a crisis. So we work closely with Jaguar Land Rover, Network Rail, to name but a few, and they are really quite worried. We need to double the number of people studying GCSE physics as part of triple science. We need a 2-fold increase in the number of advanced apprenticeship achievements. We need the provision of careers inspiration to 11 to 14-year-olds. And we know there's lots of research to suggest that it's about embedding the careers material is the important aspect, and it's not just about going out and engaging with schools and with young people, it's about ensuring that they know what are the career paths, how do they get into engineering, and it's through interacting with employers and employees that can make a significant difference. And we also need to support teachers and careers advisors in delivering that message. So the good news is, if we fill the demand for the engineering jobs, we will generate approximately an additional £27 billion per year for the UK economy, and that's equivalent to 1,800 schools and 110 hospitals. So I think that's a pretty positive message that, when you're looking at the importance of STEM for the UK economy, £27 billion is quite a lot of money. So what can we do to meet the demand? We ran in consultation with Boston Consulting Group, we got some funding from BIS in 2014, and they ran a survey and went out and spoke to around about 240 businesses, both large and small. And the findings from that piece of research, they came out with 5 key recommendations. And we know that by better coordination, we can effectively triple the number of young people going into those STEM subjects. So the key recommendations: support employers to maximise school coverage, develop some mechanisms for best practice, increase the number of employers participating. And for us, the more work we've done on this, we've been doing this for just over a year now, we know that it's not just about working with employers and getting them to go out to schools. They do that already, and they do that really well, but it is about supporting them and measuring the impact that they have and trying to do what they do even better. Even though what they do already is fantastic, I think there are areas for improvement. And to do that, it would be to develop and share success stories and best practice And there is some really good practice going on at the moment, and we know that it makes such a significant difference. As I say, after the Boston Consulting Group came back to us with those key recommendations, and as per the Perkins review, where it was mentioned that, or it called for support for companies to support the Tomorrow's Engineers programme, we have expanded the Tomorrow's Engineers programme in light of those key recommendations to help employers engage more effectively with schools. And when we say engage more effectively, it doesn't mean to say that what they're doing already isn't effective. It absolutely is. But it's about sharing those success stories with other employers who perhaps don't engage already, and showcasing and saying this is the difference that it can make. Probably the one key thing that ask would be is really to embed that careers message into all of those outreach activities that you do so well, and to make sure that young people are aware of how to get into engineering. And to do that, we have some resources that we work with. We work with teachers to develop them, we work with young people, and we work with some employers and the professional engineering institutions to come up with a range of different messages that we feel help young people to understand what engineering is all about. The other piece of work that we're doing at the moment, and this is around coordinating that activity, is to build a database that has school information, attainment information, and the uptake of STEM subject information. At the moment, it's just physics and core science, but we do have data, more data to add to it. And we're working with employers to map their own activity, because what's happening is employers, or what we feel is happening, is employers are going out to your local schools, and the schools that are really keen and interested tend to be the same ones who put their hands up all the time. They're the ones that come knocking on your door saying, can you come and do a careers talk? But there are lots of schools that don't do anything at all, and those are the ones that are the most difficult and challenging to get into, and that's where we're falling through the gaps. And this morning we were at a meeting where EDT presented, and EDT do a fantastic job, and they reach around 30,000 young people. We ourselves, through our own programmes, through Big Bang at School, and through Tomorrow's Engineers Direct Engagement Programme, we reach around 200,000 young people. But when you consider that there are around 750,000 young people in a school year, there is more work that needs to be done. So what we're doing really well. We just need to do more of it. And we need to map what we're doing so that we understand where those gaps are. And when we look at effective engagement, we are programmes such as the Big Bang, where we're bringing employers in one place so that to make it easier for schools to engage with employers really works well. And I know that there was some success last week with the Big Bang at Ada and Worthing, and I'm pleased to say it was supported by lots of people in this room. So thank you for that. That's it, really. Do you have any questions? I hope that it's given you a bit of an oversight. I've got lots more facts and figures that I can share with you. And as I say, on our State of Engineering report, which is due out shortly, I'm more than happy to send a link, and it's free to download, that will give you a bit more of an insight into where those jobs are. And next year, what I particularly asked for this year was a lot more information on the local areas, the local market, local labour market information to share with companies that I think would be useful. And actually what we've found is that when we're talking to teachers, when you share that type of information with teachers about where the job opportunities are, and again that's another reason why we feel engaging with employers is the key to bridging that gap, it absolutely increases their motivations for telling their young people about the careers locally. So thank you very much.
Quick question. You mentioned there's a particular way that you recommend that employers engage with students in schools, correct format for doing that.
Yep.
How do we get hold of that? How can we share that among the community here?
Well, Brona is our key person in the South East, and she is employed by EngineeringUK to support employers across the South East to share that effective practice, and she will come and spend some time with you and look at what works. What we found works with employers is, rather than us saying, there are some key things, hands-on activities, definitely. a range of different types of activities, so careers talks do work really well, but often what we see are one-off interventions. So you'll do if an organisation goes into a school, they'll do a careers talk perhaps once, and then nobody might go in for 6 months, and then you've lost the momentum. But when you look at the range of programmes that are out there and key points within the school year, it would be good to work with employers to make sure that there's a regular and frequent interventions with employers or interactions with employers that cover a multitude of in touch with the employer or with your own employees, particularly those closest in school age we find is really effective. So apprentices, graduates work really well. Hands-on activities is an absolute must. Getting young people to engage through things that they know themselves, so whether it's through the eyes of them and a subject that they recognise with. And some of the most successful projects that I've seen are those where companies have given a group of children a problem that they face, and the kids have come up with their own solution to that problem. And children are pretty special, actually, and I know that we had this conversation earlier. There are some that are really disengaged, and when you meet them, you can often get quite depressed and think, oh my God, is this the state of our future? But I can tell you, because I've been to lots of Big Bang events, that there are some amazing kids out there, and they are really bright and really sparky, and they're just not challenged. And I put it out there to you, challenge them, set them a task, set them something that's really difficult that you haven't solved yourself, and just see what they come up with. Because we know from the National Science and Engineering competition that there are some pretty special kids, and even the average ones who are pretty average are not, and they will amaze you. So hands-on activities, project work, mentoring, in touch with your young people within your industry are all the types of things that work.
Sarah, I'm sort of quite interested in this. I'm involved in a STEM club in Chichester, but we target Key Stage 2 children in Year 5 and 6, and they're taught everything from soldering, electronic circuits to programming. And to me, you've got to get them at that age. If you're coming in at 11, 12, 13, 14, I often find it's too late in many respects. And actually, the sort of young children, say in Year 5 and 6, they've produced some amazing work.
Good on
and some really amazing work, and they're doing some amazing projects, including the Astro Pi for the space station. Should we be targeting younger children? Because I think that's where you make the difference.
It's an interesting debate, and it's one that we have discussed many times in our office, and it's one that is continued to be discussed. And I had this conversation with our CEO a few weeks ago. And the truth of it is, if you had all the money, you would target every age group. You would go from early years all the way through. But we don't have a significant amount of funding to do that. There aren't an indefinite number of supply of employers and employees to go out there and engage with schools. So from our research and from what we know, we target our main target age group is 11 to 14 because we've had to select one to work with. We know that in primary school age children are very engaging, they are very keen, and they have not yet become completely disengaged with school life. That tends to happen in the transitional year between Year 6 and Year 7, and by the time you get into secondary school at Year 7, they've almost completely switched off. So you're absolutely right. However, they select their subjects my son selected his subjects at the end of this year, which is the end of Year 8. So you do all that fantastic work in primary, but they get to secondary and then they dive again. It's up to you as an employer to do what you feel works for you. We are choosing to work with 11 to 14-year-olds because that's a key decision-making age for them. If we can get them, and it tends to be the best work's done Year 7, Year 8, so it's very close to that primary age and that transitional year. But there are many pieces of research that would say, yes, absolutely, go with primary schools. And as I say, if you had all of the money, then yes, you would, but we don't. So we've selected 11 to 14. We can't do it all, but do it where they are making those decisions, and we know that it does work. So, and the fact that it has increased over the last few years, and the uptake of physics has increased over the last few years, proves that it is working. We just need to do more of it. And I think that will, time will tell. So when we look at our schools database and start to track the uptake of those subjects, and those are our long-term indicators, we hope that in the future that we may be able to make some correlation between the activity that's happening in schools and the uptake of those STEM subjects, and hopefully what we'd like to see is the attainment of those STEM subjects. But it is difficult because the teachers aren't there either. So, and a stat from the Teach First was that which is pretty scary, if every single physics graduate became a teacher, there still wouldn't be enough physics teachers. And that's our biggest problem, and that's why we need the experts to go into the schools, because often the teachers that are teaching the subject are not subject specialists. They are often other specialists of other subjects, and that has a significant impact on the desirability of continuing to work with those subjects.
Presumably there are other organisations looking at tomorrow's doctors, tomorrow's accountants, tomorrow's garbage disposal operatives.
Yeah.
They're all vying for people to start their particular career. We talked about 25% of it being up in engineering, got 75% of the economy on other subjects.
And
is there a higher body that is getting together and deciding what efforts should be made in what direction?
The government. There is, I think the way I think about this myself is that if we increase the number of young people continuing to study their STEM subjects, and if we give them enough information to help them make an informed choice about the career, then that's what we should be doing. Whether they end up eventually going into engineering or not, it wouldn't matter so much if you widen the group that you're putting in. And that's the key. And that's why when we're talking about, the more general view of are STEM subjects important to the economy, then absolutely, because if we do need more doctors, we do need more scientists. It's just that at the moment, the particular focus for us is engineering, but that's not to say that by doing this, if we can increase the number of young people studying all of the STEM subjects, then that's good for all.